A man who was once a tech prodigy, rich, famous, suddenly appeared on an old subway train in New York. No suit, no luxury car, just a gray hoodie and empty eyes. He walks into an adoption center and says, "I don't want to waste any more time," but when the door opens and he sees a little girl in a wheelchair looking at him with cautious eyes, a memory of his sister buried deep within his heart comes rushing back. He kneels down, takes her hand, and what happens next will change his life forever. Before we continue, tell us what time it is and where you're watching from. Subscribe and hype, because tomorrow I've got something extra special for you. St. Mary's Family and Adoption Center, Manhattan, late October 2024. The subway rattled beneath Ethan Cole's feet as it pulled into the station. He stepped out onto the platform, adjusting the gray hoodie that felt foreign against his skin. No Armani today. No driver waiting at the curb, just him, a pair of worn jeans and sneakers that had seen better days. 3 months ago his face had been on the cover of Forbes. They'd called him the boy genius, the tech world's golden child, youngest billionaire to build an empire from nothing. Now he was just a guy on the subway, trying to figure out how to be human again. He climbed the stairs into the crisp autumn air. The city smelled like roasted chestnuts and car exhaust. He walked slowly, hands in his pockets, not in any particular hurry. For the first time in a decade he had nowhere important to be. No meetings, no conference calls, no deals that couldn't wait. It had been a year since Emily died. A year since he got the call in that Silicon Valley boardroom. A year since he'd ignored her texts because he was too busy closing a $200 million deal. A year since he'd learned that some things can't wait, no matter how important you think you are. The grief had knocked him flat. Not right away. At first he just worked harder, faster, longer. 16-hour days became 18, then 20. If he kept moving, maybe it wouldn't catch up with him, but it did. 3 months ago he'd woken up in his office at 4 in the morning, face down on his desk, and realized he couldn't remember the last time he'd actually gone home. Couldn't remember the last time he'd talked to a friend. Couldn't remember why any of this mattered. So he'd stepped down, sold most of his shares, walked away from the empire he'd spent 10 years building. People thought he was crazy. Maybe he was, but he kept thinking about Emily. About how she'd always wanted him to slow down, to care about something real. And now she was gone, and he'd never get the chance to tell her she was right. So here he was, trying to do something that mattered, trying to show up for someone who needed it. St. Mary's sat on a quiet street in the West 70s, a brick building with ivy crawling up its walls. The sign out front was hand-painted, the letters slightly uneven. Ethan stood there for a moment, staring at the front door. This was different from anything he'd ever done. Scarier than any pitch, any negotiation, any risk he'd ever taken in business. The door opened before he could knock. A woman in her 50s, with kind eyes and graying hair pulled back in a loose bun, smiled at him. "You must be Ethan," she said. "I'm Dr. Patel. Come in." Inside the place was warm, almost too warm. Children's artwork covered every wall, handprints in paint, crayon drawings of families, construction paper turkeys. A girl ran past them in the hallway, laughing, chased by a staff member. It felt alive, real. So different from the sterile glass and steel world he'd left behind. "We spoke on the phone," Dr. Patel said, leading him down a corridor. "You said you wanted to adopt, that you were ready." Ethan nodded. "I am. And you understand that many of our children have been through difficult situations. That they need patience, understanding, and most importantly, consistency." "I understand." Dr. Patel stopped outside a door with a small window. She looked at him carefully. "Mr. Cole, I know who you are. Your assistant was very clear about wanting to keep this private. But I need to know, why are you here?" "Really?" Ethan looked down at his hands. "My sister died a year ago, car accident. I was supposed to meet her for dinner that week, but I canceled. Work came first. It always came first." He paused. "And then she was gone. And I realized I'd spent 10 years building something that didn't matter, and I'd lost the one person who did." Dr. Patel's expression softened. "I don't want to waste any more time," Ethan said quietly. "I want to show up for something real." Dr. Patel studied him for another moment, then nodded. "Come on, there's someone I'd like you to meet." She pushed open the door. The room was bright, filled with afternoon sunlight. Bean bags scattered across the floor, bins of toys, art supplies everywhere. And in the corner by herself sat a little girl in a wheelchair. She was drawing. Ethan felt something shift in his chest. She couldn't have been more than 6, with dark skin and her hair pulled into 2 small puffs. She wore a purple sweater that was slightly too big, sleeves bunched at her wrists. Her concentration was absolute as she moved a crayon across the paper. "Zoe," Dr. Patel said softly. "Someone's here to meet you." The girl looked up. Her eyes were huge, cautious. She set down the crayon slowly. "Hi," Ethan said. His voice came out rougher than he intended. Zoe looked at him, then at Dr. Patel, then back at him. "Hi, I'm Ethan." "Okay." Dr. Patel gestured to a small chair nearby. Ethan sat. The chair was meant for children, and his knees came up awkwardly. Zoe watched him with those careful eyes, like she was trying to figure him out. "What are you drawing?" he asked. She glanced down at her paper, then back at him. "A turtle." "Can I see?" Zoe hesitated. Then she wheeled herself forward a few inches and held up the paper. It was a turtle, green and lumpy, with a red shell and stick legs. "That's really good," Ethan said. "I like turtles," Zoe said quietly. "They carry their houses with them, so they're always home." Something twisted in Ethan's chest. "That's smart." Zoe set the paper down in her lap. She looked at him for a long time. "Are you here to adopt someone?" she asked. "I am." "Why?" The question was so direct, it caught him off guard. He could have given her a polished answer, something rehearsed. But looking at this little girl who'd clearly learned not to trust easy words, he found himself telling the truth. "Because I want to be someone's family," he said. "Because I think maybe I need that as much as they do." Zoe nodded slowly. Her hands twisted in the hem of her sweater. "You should pick someone else," she said. Ethan blinked. "What? Someone else? Not me." Dr. Patel started to speak, but Ethan held up a hand gently. "Why do you say that?" Zoe looked down at her lap. "Because I've been sent back 3 times already." The room went quiet. 3 families, Zoe continued, her voice small but steady. "They all said they wanted me. They said they'd be my forever family." She shrugged, trying to look like it didn't hurt. "But then they brought me back." Ethan felt like someone had reached into his chest and squeezed. "Zoe, it's okay," she said quickly. "I get it. I'm in a wheelchair. I need help with stuff, and I have bad dreams sometimes, and I cry, and that's probably annoying." She looked up at him. "So you should pick a different kid, one who's easier." Dr. Patel's eyes were shining with tears she was trying to hide. Ethan leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "Zoe, can I tell you something?" She waited. "I'm not looking for easy," he said. "I spent my whole life chasing easy. Easy success, easy money, easy everything, and you know what? It made me miserable." He paused. "I'm here because I want to learn how to stay, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard." Zoe's eyes searched his face. "People say that. Then they leave anyway." "I know, and I'm sorry they did that to you. That wasn't right. Life's not fair," Zoe said matter-of-factly. "No," Ethan agreed. "It's not, but that doesn't mean we can't try to make it better." Zoe was quiet for a long moment. "I don't want you to promise you'll stay. People always promise." "You're right," Ethan said. "Promises are easy, so I won't make you any. How about this? I'll just show up tomorrow, and the day after that, and we'll see what happens." Zoe tilted her head, considering. "That's not very romantic." Ethan laughed, surprised. "No, I guess it's not. My last family took me to Disneyland in the first week. They bought me lots of toys. They said I was their princess." Her expression hardened. "Then they brought me back 3 months later, said I was too much work." "I'm not going to take you to Disneyland," Ethan said. "At least not right away, and I'm definitely not good at the princess stuff." "Then what are you good at?" Ethan thought about it. "Showing up. I want to be good at showing up." Zoe studied him. Then she reached down beside her wheelchair and picked up a piece of paper. She held it out to him. "What's this?" Ethan asked, taking it. "It's for you, so when you change your mind, you'll remember me." Ethan looked down at the paper. It was a drawing. Simple, done in crayon. 2 stick figures, one tall, one small in a wheelchair. They were holding hands. Above them she'd written in shaky letters, Staying is hard. He looked up at her, this small brave girl who'd been let down over and over but was still trying, still hoping, even as she protected herself. Thank you, he said, his voice rough. I'll keep this. Zoe nodded. She didn't smile, but something in her eyes softened just a little. Dr. Patel touched Ethan's shoulder. Why don't we let Zoe finish her drawing? You and I can talk in my office. Ethan stood, carefully folding the drawing and putting it in his pocket. I'll see you soon, Zoe. She didn't answer, just picked up her crayon, and went back to her turtle. In Dr. Patel's office, surrounded by filing cabinets and more children's drawings, Ethan sat down and said, "Tell me everything." "Everything?" Dr. Patel asked. "Everything about Zoe, her medical history, her needs, what she likes, what scares her, what makes her feel safe." Dr. Patel leaned back in her chair. "Ethan, Zoe has spina bifida. She'll need ongoing medical care, physical therapy, possibly surgeries as she grows. She has limited mobility in her legs. She's very smart, but she has trauma from being abandoned repeatedly. She has nightmares, trust issues." She paused. "Are you prepared for that?" "No," Ethan said honestly, "but I want to be. Teach me." Dr. Patel smiled slightly. "It's not something you can learn in a day. Then I'll learn it over time. I'm not in a hurry. I just want to do it right." "Why Zoe?" Dr. Patel asked. "We have other children who might be." "Because she told me the truth," Ethan interrupted. "She didn't try to make herself likable. She didn't perform. She just told me how hard this is." He paused. "And I respect that. Plus I think we might be good for each other. We're both scared of being left behind." Dr. Patel was quiet for a moment. Then she pulled out a thick folder from her desk drawer. "This is Zoe's file. Medical records, therapy notes, previous placement reports. It's a lot to read." "I'll read every word," Ethan said, taking it. "The adoption process takes time. Background checks, home visits, counseling sessions, and we start with visits, then short stays, then longer ones. It could be 6 months before she can move in permanently." "I understand. And Ethan," Dr. Patel looked at him seriously, "if you're not sure, if there's any doubt in your mind, it's better to walk away now, before she gets attached, before she starts hoping again." Ethan thought about Emily, about the year he'd spent running from grief, only to realize he was running in circles, about how tired he was of chasing things that didn't matter. "I'm sure," he said. St. Mary's Family and Adoption Center, early November. 2 weeks later, Ethan came back on Thursday. He'd said he would, and he did. Zoe was in the common room, not drawing this time, just sitting by the window, watching other kids play. She had a book in her lap, but she wasn't reading it, just staring out at the gray November sky. "Hey," Ethan said, pulling up the same too small chair from before. Zoe glanced at him, then away. "You came back. I said I would. People say lots of things." "Fair enough." Ethan didn't push, he just sat there, looking out the window with her. After a while, Zoe said, "What do you want?" "To hang out, if that's okay." "Why?" "Because I like you." Zoe snorted. "You don't even know me." "You're right. So help me know you. What do you like to do?" Zoe was quiet, then testing him, she said, "I like to paint, and I like turtles, and I like it when people don't feel sorry for me." "Okay, no pity." "Got it. What else?" "I like mac and cheese, the kind from the box, not the fancy kind. And I hate physical therapy because it hurts, but Dr. Patel says I have to do it anyway." "That sounds hard." "It is." Zoe looked at him. "Are you rich?" The question caught him off guard. "Yeah, I am. The other families were rich too. They had big houses and nice cars, but they still gave me back." Ethan nodded slowly. "Money doesn't make people kind, or patient, or ready to be parents. So what does?" "I don't know yet," Ethan said honestly. "I'm still figuring that out." Zoe seemed to appreciate the honesty. She turned back to the window. "Dr. Patel says you want to adopt me." "I do, even though I'm broken." The word hit him hard. "You're not broken. My back is. That's what spina bifida means. My spine didn't form right, so my legs don't work like other kids." "That doesn't make you broken," Ethan said quietly. "That just makes you Zoe." She looked at him skeptically. "You're just saying that." "No, I mean it." He paused. My sister used to tell me I was emotionally broken because I worked too much and never let anyone in. Maybe she was right, but it didn't make me less valuable, just human. Zoe considered this. Your sister sounds smart. She was. Ethan's throat tightened. She died last year. Oh, Zoe's expression softened. That's sad. Yeah, it really is. They sat in silence for a moment. Then Zoe said, is that why you're here? Because you miss her? Partly. But also because I'm tired of running away from things that matter. Zoe nodded slowly. Then she said, you can push my wheelchair if you want, just for a little bit. It was a test, Ethan realized. A tiny offer of trust. I'd like that, he said. They went to the art room. Zoe showed him her paintings, bright, messy explosions of color that covered the walls. She explained each one. This was a sunset. This was a garden. This was supposed to be a cat, but it looked more like a blob. Ethan listened, asked questions, laughed when she made jokes about her own work. When it was time to leave, Zoe said, you can come back next week, if you want. I want, Ethan said, and he did. Late November, Ethan came every Thursday, then twice a week, then 3 times. He learned Zoe's routine: physical therapy on Mondays and Wednesdays, art time on Thursdays, library hour on Fridays. He started timing his visits around the things she loved, showing up to sit with her during the hard appointments, and celebrate the good moments. He read her file cover to cover, learned about spina bifida, how it affected mobility, bladder control, sometimes learning. He watched videos on adjusting wheelchairs, researched orthopedic specialists, memorized the names of her medications. Dr. Patel gave him books on childhood trauma, attachment disorders, building trust with kids who'd been hurt. He didn't just read them. He studied them like he used to study business proposals, taking notes in the margins, highlighting key passages. One afternoon in late November, Dr. Patel found him in the hallway, outside the physical therapy room. Zoe was inside, working with her therapist, her small face tight with concentration and pain, as she tried to strengthen her core muscles. You're here a lot, Dr. Patel said. Is that a problem? No, I'm just surprised. Most prospective parents visit once a week, maybe twice. Ethan watched through the window as Zoe gripped the parallel bars, trying to hold herself upright with the therapist's support. She was shaking with effort. I want her to know I'm not going anywhere, he said. She's scared, Dr. Patel said softly. Every time you leave, she asks when you're coming back. She's starting to believe you might actually stay, and that terrifies her. I know. Do you? Dr. Patel looked at him seriously. Because if you leave now, after she's started to trust you, it will destroy her. She won't recover from a 4th rejection, Ethan. I'm not leaving. Everyone says that. I'm not everyone. Ethan's jaw tightened. I walked away from a company I spent 10 years building to be here. And right now the most important thing in my life is making sure that little girl knows someone is going to show up for her, every single day. Dr. Patel studied him for a long moment, then she nodded. Okay, I believe you. Inside the therapy room, Zoe caught sight of Ethan through the window. Her face lit up for just a second before she caught herself, trying to look casual. She waved, just a small flutter of her fingers. Ethan waved back. Early December, Central Park. The first outing was to Central Park. Dr. Patel had approved it. A short trip, supervised, just to see how they did together outside the center. It was cold. The kind of December cold that made your breath fog and your cheeks sting. Ethan pushed Zoe's wheelchair along the path, both of them bundled in winter coats. Have you been here before? Ethan asked. Once, with my second family. We fed the ducks. Did you like it? It was okay, until they decided I wasn't. Ethan didn't know what to say to that, so he just kept pushing. They found a spot by the lake where other families were throwing bread to the ducks. Kids running around, laughing, their parents calling after them. Zoe watched them with an expression Ethan couldn't quite read. Do you want to get closer to the water? He asked. Okay. He wheeled her down the gentle slope toward the edge. The path was uneven, and the wheelchair tilted slightly to one side. Ethan adjusted, steadying it. Zoe went rigid. You okay? He asked. I'm fine. But her hands were gripping the armrests tight. Zoe, I said I'm fine. Her voice was sharp, Scared. Ethan stopped immediately. He came around to crouch in front of her. Hey, what's wrong? Zoe's eyes were wide, her breathing quick, the chair tilted. Just a little. The path's bumpy here, but I've got you. That's what everyone says. Zoe whispered, right before they drop you. Oh, Ethan's chest ached. Did someone drop you? Zoe didn't answer, but her silence said everything. Zoe, Ethan said gently. I'm not going to drop you. He stopped himself. No, not a promise, because you don't trust promises. So here's what I'll do instead. He stood, moved behind the wheelchair, and placed both hands firmly on the handles. I'm going to push you very slowly, and I'm going to tell you exactly what I'm doing. And if you get scared, you say stop, and I stop immediately. Okay. Zoe looked back at him, uncertain. We're going forward now, Ethan said, and pushed gently. Nice and slow. I've got a good grip. You're safe. They moved forward a few feet. Still good? Ethan asked. Yeah, Zoe said quietly. Okay, we're going to turn left a little. There's a smooth part of the path over there. He guided the wheelchair carefully, narrating every movement. Gradually, he felt Zoe's grip on the armrests loosen. When they reached the smooth part, Ethan stopped. How was that? Okay, Zoe admitted. Then softer. Thank you. For what? For not getting mad when I got scared. Ethan came around to face her again. Zoe, listen to me. You get to be scared. You get to be angry. You get to be sad. You get to be all of those things. And it doesn't make you bad or difficult. It makes you human. Zoe's eyes were shining. She looked away quickly, blinking. Can we get ice cream? The subject change was abrupt, her way of avoiding tears. Ethan let her have it. Yeah, we can get ice cream. They found a vendor by the park entrance. Ethan got vanilla. Zoe got chocolate with rainbow sprinkles. They sat on a bench, Ethan beside Zoe's wheelchair, and ate in comfortable silence. This is nice, Zoe said after a while. Yeah, it is. Do you think we can do this again? Ice cream in the park? Yeah, absolutely. As many times as you want. Zoe licked her ice cream thoughtfully. No promises though, right? Right. No promises. Just ice cream. Zoe smiled. It was small, cautious, but it was real. Mid-December, the penthouse visit. The home visit happened on a Wednesday. A social worker named Linda came to inspect Ethan's penthouse in Tribeca. The sleek apartment with floor-to-ceiling windows and minimalist furniture. Everything was white and glass and expensive. Linda walked through the space and frowned. This won't work, she said. What? Ethan looked around, confused. I have plenty of space. I can convert one of the guest rooms. It's not about space, Mr. Cole. It's about this. Linda gestured around. Everything here is breakable. Sharp corners, glass tables, white furniture that shows every mark. This is a home for adults who don't touch anything. Not for a 6-year-old. Ethan looked around, seeing his home through new eyes. She was right. This place was a museum, not a home. So what do I do? Linda smiled. You make it livable, or you find somewhere that already is. That night, Ethan couldn't sleep. He stood in his living room, looking out at the Manhattan skyline. This apartment had been perfect for his old life. The life of late-night conference calls and early morning meetings, of being everywhere except present. But it wasn't right for Zoe. It wasn't right for the life he wanted now. The next morning, he started looking at houses. Brooklyn Heights, late December. The house was nothing like his penthouse. It was 100 years old, made of brick, with a small front yard, and a tree that had probably been there since before Ethan was born. The real estate agent apologized for the creaky floors, the outdated kitchen, the bathroom that needed work. It needs a lot of work, she said. Ethan walked through the room slowly. The floors did creak. The kitchen was stuck in the 1980s, but there was something warm about it, something that felt like a home instead of a showpiece. I'll take it, he said. The agent blinked. Don't you want to see other options? This is the first house we've looked at. I don't need to see others. Ethan was standing in what would be Zoe's room, a sunny space with windows overlooking the small backyard. This is the one. He hired contractors, told them to make the house accessible, ramps instead of stairs, a bathroom Zoe could use independently, wider doorways for her wheelchair. But he also told them to keep the character. The creaky floors, the old moldings, the brick fireplace. Make it feel like people actually live here, he said, like it's been loved. When Dr. Patel came for the home inspection in early January, she walked through the house, still in construction chaos. Workers were installing grab bars in the bathroom, building a ramp to the back door. "You bought a house," she said. "I did. Not just remodeled your apartment. You bought an actual house. The apartment wasn't right. This is better. For Zoe. For us." Dr. Patel stopped in the doorway of Zoe's room to be. The walls were painted a soft purple, Zoe's favorite color. There was a window seat with cushions, a corner for art supplies, built-in shelves at wheelchair height. "She doesn't know yet, does she?" "No. I wanted to make sure it was ready first." "Ethan," Dr. Patel said gently, "you know that even with all this, the adoption isn't guaranteed, right? The court has to approve it, and given Zoe's history of placements not working out, they're going to be very careful." "I know, and you know that she's going to test you. She's going to push you away to see if you'll leave. It's going to get harder before it gets easier." "I know that too." Dr. Patel smiled. "You really mean this, don't you?" "I really do." She put a hand on his arm. "Then let's make this happen." Late January, the conversation. It was a Thursday afternoon when Ethan sat down with Zoe in the art room. He'd been visiting for 3 months now. 3 months of showing up, of learning her routines, of earning tiny pieces of her trust. "I want to show you something," he said, pulling out his phone. Zoe looked suspicious. "What?" "Pictures of a house." "Why?" "Because I want you to see where you're going to live." Zoe went very still. "What?" Ethan showed her the photos. The purple room, the window seat, the art corner, the backyard with space for a garden. Zoe stared at the pictures, her expression unreadable. "That's for me. All for you." "Why purple?" "Because Dr. Patel said it's your favorite color." Zoe was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "What if they say no?" "Who?" "The court. The judge." "What if they say no?" Ethan set down his phone. "Then I'll appeal. And if that doesn't work, I'll appeal again. And if I run out of appeals, I'll come visit you every single day until I find another way." "You can't promise that." "You're right. I can't promise. But I can show up. And I will." Zoe looked at him, her eyes shining. "I'm scared." "Me too," Ethan admitted. "Really, really. I'm scared I'll mess this up. I'm scared I won't be good enough. I'm scared of a lot of things." He paused. "But I'm more scared of not trying." Zoe nodded slowly. Then so quietly he almost didn't hear it. She said, "I don't want you to leave. I'm not going to. But what if you do? Then I'll come back." Ethan leaned forward. "Zoe, I can't control everything. I can't promise that life won't be hard or scary or complicated. But I can promise to keep showing up. Even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard." Zoe looked at him for a long moment. Then she said, "Okay, okay, I'll try to believe you." She paused. "It's hard though. I know that's okay. You don't have to believe me yet. Just don't give up on me. Not yet." "Okay." Then with a hint of her usual spark. "But if you're lying, I'm going to paint your face while you're sleeping." Ethan laughed, relief flooding through him. "Deal." Family Court, Manhattan. February 10, 2025. The courtroom was smaller than Ethan expected. Not the grand space from TV shows, but a simple room with wooden benches and fluorescent lights that buzzed slightly. Judge Margaret Reynolds presided. A woman in her 60s with silver hair and sharp eyes. Ethan liked her immediately. She looked like someone who didn't tolerate nonsense. The Morrison family sat on one side with their lawyer, a stern woman in a navy suit. Mr. Morrison was in his 50s, balding, with an expression that suggested he considered this a moral duty. Mrs. Morrison looked uncomfortable, her hands twisted in her lap. Dr. Patel sat behind Ethan, along with 2 of Zoe's therapists and Linda, the social worker. And in the back, in her wheelchair with a staff member from St. Mary's, sat Zoe. She shouldn't have been there. Children usually weren't at these hearings. But Zoe had insisted. "This is about me," she'd said firmly. "I should get to be there." Judge Reynolds had allowed it. Now Zoe sat, hands gripped tight on the armrests of her wheelchair, watching everything with those careful, guarded eyes. The Morrisons' lawyer went first. She painted a picture of Zoe as deeply troubled, manipulative, prone to tantrums, unable to attach. She cited the 3 failed placements as evidence that Zoe needed residential treatment, not adoption. Mr. Cole is a wealthy man with no experience raising children, much less a special needs child with significant behavioral issues, the lawyer said. While his intentions may be good, intentions aren't enough. This child needs professional, structured care. Ethan's hands clenched into fists. Dr. Patel's hand on his shoulder steadied him. Then it was their turn. Linda testified about Ethan's home visits, his consistency, the way he'd educated himself about Zoe's medical needs. Dr. Patel spoke about the bond she'd observed developing between them, about how Zoe had started to open up in ways she never had before. One of the therapists testified about Zoe's progress since Ethan started visiting regularly. Fewer nightmares, more engagement in therapy, actual hope in her eyes. Whatever Mr. Cole is doing, the therapist said, it's working. Then Judge Reynolds looked at Ethan. Mr. Cole, would you like to speak? Ethan stood. His hands were shaking. He'd faced down hostile boards, aggressive investors, media storms. But this mattered in a way nothing else ever had. Your Honor, he began. Then stopped. The speech he'd prepared evaporated. He looked at Zoe. She was watching him, her expression unreadable. I'm not here because I feel sorry for Zoe, he said, speaking to the judge but keeping his eyes on the little girl in the back. I'm not here because I think I can save her or fix her. I'm here because for the first time in my life I want to show up for something that actually matters. He turned to face Judge Reynolds fully. My sister died a year ago. We were close once, but I got busy. Too busy. I chose work over her. Over and over again. And then she was gone, and I couldn't undo it. His voice cracked slightly. I spent a year running from that, working harder, moving faster, thinking if I just kept going, maybe it wouldn't hurt so much. But it did hurt. And I realized I'd spent 10 years building an empire, and it didn't mean anything, because I'd lost the person who mattered most. So I went to St. Mary's Set. I met Zoe, and she told me the truth, that she'd been given back 3 times, that I should choose someone easier, that staying is hard. He smiled slightly. She was right. Staying is hard. It's the hardest thing I've ever done. But here's what I've learned. Staying isn't about making big promises. It's not about grand gestures or expensive gifts. It's about showing up, every day. Even when it's inconvenient. Even when you're scared. Even when the kid you're showing up for pushes you away because she's testing whether you'll leave. The Morrisons say Zoe has behavioral issues. Maybe she does. Or maybe she's just a 6-year-old who's been abandoned over and over, and is trying to protect herself the only way she knows how. He looked at the Morrison family. And maybe the problem isn't that she can't attach. Maybe the problem is that people give up on her too easily. Mr. Morrison's face reddened. I'm not perfect, Ethan continued. I'm probably going to mess this up 100 different ways, but I'm not going to quit. I'm not going to decide she's too much work. Because she's not too much, she's exactly enough. The courtroom was silent. Your Honor, I'm not asking for permission to save Zoe. I'm asking for permission to let her save me, because that's what she's doing. She's teaching me how to be present, how to care about something more than success, how to stay. He sat down. His heart was pounding. Judge Reynolds looked at her notes, then at Zoe. Miss Carter, can you come forward, please? The staff member wheeled Zoe to the front. She looked tiny in the formal courtroom, her purple sweater bright against the dark wood. Zoe, Judge Reynolds said gently, do you understand what's happening here today? Yes, ma'am, Zoe said, her voice small but clear. What do you think about Mr. Cole wanting to adopt you? Zoe looked at Ethan. Her eyes were shining with tears she was trying hard not to shed. I think he means it, she said slowly. Means what? That he'll stay. She paused. I didn't believe him at first. I thought he'd get tired of me like everyone else. But he keeps showing up, even when I'm mean to him, even when I'm scared, and I push him away. A tear rolled down her cheek. He comes back anyway. And is that what you want? Judge Reynolds asked. For Mr. Cole to be your father. Zoe nodded. Then she said clearly, yes, ma'am, I want that a lot. Even though it's scary. Even though it's scary. Zoe looked at the Morrisons. They say I'm too broken to be adopted. But Ethan says I'm not broken, just hurt. And hurt things can heal if you give them time. Judge Reynolds smiled slightly. Counselor, I've heard your concerns, and I understand them. Zoe does have significant needs, medical, emotional, psychological. Ethan's heart sank. However, Judge Reynolds continued. I've also heard testimony from multiple professionals who work directly with this child. They all say the same thing, that Mr. Cole's presence in her life has been transformative, that he's educated himself about her needs, that he's shown remarkable consistency. She looked at Ethan. Mr. Cole, you said staying is hard. You're right, parenting is hard. Special needs parenting is harder. There will be days when you wonder if you're doing it right. Days when you're exhausted and frustrated and scared. She paused. But what matters most isn't perfection. It's persistence. It's showing up even when it's hard. And from everything I've seen, that's exactly what you've been doing. Ethan couldn't breathe. Therefore I'm denying the Morrisons' objection and approving the adoption petition. Pending a final home visit and 6 months of supervised integration, Zoe Carter will become Zoe Cole. The courtroom erupted. Dr. Patel was crying. Linda was grinning. And Zoe was staring at Ethan with an expression of disbelief and hope so fierce it hurt to look at. Ethan crossed the courtroom. He knelt in front of Zoe's wheelchair, and she threw her arms around his neck, sobbing. You stayed, she whispered against his shoulder. You really stayed. I told you I would, Ethan said, his own voice thick with tears. I know, but I didn't believe you. Not really. Not until now. Believe me now. Zoe pulled back, looking at him with red tear-stained eyes. Yeah, I believe you now. Brooklyn Heights, late February, 3 weeks after the hearing. The hearing was over, the adoption approved, but there were still formalities, paperwork, transition plans. Zoe would start spending weekends at the house, then longer stretches, gradually moving toward permanent placement. It was a Wednesday afternoon. Ethan had gone downtown to meet with the lawyer about finalizing some documents. Zoe was at the house with a staff member from St. Mary's, her first time there alone, getting comfortable with the space. She wheeled herself through the room slowly, touching things. The soft yellow walls in the living room, the books on the low shelves, the kitchen table that wasn't too high for her to reach. It was starting to feel real. She went upstairs using the stair lift, still a little nervous about it but getting better. Her room was exactly as she remembered from the photos. Purple walls, window seat, art supplies in the corner. But there was something she hadn't noticed before. A door, slightly ajar. Curious, Zoe wheeled herself over and pushed it open. It was a small room, smaller than hers. The walls were painted a soft blue, and there was a desk by the window, a bookshelf, a dresser. Everything was neat, organized, but there was dust on the surfaces, like no one had been in here for a while. Zoe looked around. On the desk there was a framed photo, Ethan younger, standing next to a woman with dark hair and a bright smile. They had their arms around each other, both laughing. Emily. Zoe wheeled closer to the desk. Beside the photo was a small wooden box, the kind with a clasp. She hesitated, then reached out and opened it. Inside was a leather journal, old, well-worn. The cover was soft from being handled so much. Zoe knew she shouldn't open it. It was private, personal. But something in her chest pulled tight, a need to understand this man who kept choosing her, who kept staying even when she pushed him away. She opened it. The handwriting wasn't Ethan's. It was smaller, more flowing, feminine. The first entry was dated 3 years ago. You called me today from San Francisco. You sounded exhausted. I asked when you were coming home and you said soon. You always say soon. I wonder if you even know what that word means anymore. Zoe turned the page, her hands trembling slightly. Remember when we were kids and we said we'd always make time for Sunday dinners? We haven't had one in 6 months. I know you're busy. I know your company is growing. But sometimes I feel like I'm losing my brother to a world I don't understand. More pages, more entries. I drove by our old neighborhood today, past Mom's house. It's been sold now, but I sat outside for a while, remembering. Do you remember? You used to say we'd always look out for each other, that we were a team. I wonder if you still believe that. You closed another deal. I saw it on the news. $200 million. Everyone's calling you a genius. But when I called to congratulate you, you didn't answer. You never answer anymore. Zoe's eyes were stinging. I tried to visit you last month. Your assistant said you were in meetings. She said she'd schedule something. She never did. I know you're changing the world, building something important, but I miss my brother. I miss the person you used to be before success became the only thing that mattered. The entries went on, page after page of Emily reaching out, trying to connect, watching her brother disappear into his work. Near the end of the journal, the tone shifted. The handwriting looked shakier. I know you're busy with that big deal in Silicon Valley. I know it's important. I just wanted to tell you that I love you. Even when you don't have time to love me back, I'll always love you. The last entry was dated just 3 days before Emily died. I'm starting to wonder if you'll ever slow down. If you'll ever realize that all the success in the world doesn't mean anything if you're alone. I hope someday you find something, or someone who makes you want to stay, who makes you want to be present, because you deserve that, even if you don't believe it. I love you. I'll always love you, even when you forget I'm here. Zoe closed the journal carefully. Her chest felt tight, like she couldn't quite breathe. She understood now why Ethan had come to St. Mary's Stay, why he'd been so determined to show up, to stay. He wasn't just trying to give her a family, he was trying to learn how to be present, how to not run away. He was as scared as she was, just in different ways. That evening when Ethan came home, he found Zoe in the living room. She was sitting by the window watching the sun set over the backyard. "Hey," he said, setting down his briefcase. "How was your day?" "Good." Zoe's voice was quiet. Ethan came over and sat on the couch beside her wheelchair. "You okay? Can I ask you something?" "Always." "Who's Emily?" Ethan went very still. "How do you know that name?" "I found a room upstairs with a photo and a journal." Ethan's face went pale. "You read it?" "Yeah." Zoe looked down at her lap. "I'm sorry, I know I shouldn't have, but I wanted to understand." "Understand what?" "Why you keep choosing me, even when I'm difficult, even when I'm scared and mean." She looked up at him. "I thought maybe you were just being nice, or feeling guilty, but the journal, it helped me understand." "What did it help you understand?" Ethan's voice was rough. "That you're scared too," Zoe said. "That you're not just staying for me, you're staying because you need to learn how." Ethan's eyes filled with tears. He didn't try to hide them. "Yeah, that's exactly right." They sat in silence for a moment. Then Zoe said, "Can you tell me about her?" "About Emily?" "Yeah." Ethan took a deep breath. "She was my older sister, by 3 years. She basically raised me after our mom died, made sure I did my homework, went to school, ate actual food instead of just cereal." He smiled slightly at the memory. "She was the best person I knew." "What happened to her?" "Car accident, a year ago. I was supposed to have dinner with her that week, but I canceled. Work came first. It always came first." His voice cracked. "And then she was gone, and I couldn't undo it." Zoe wheeled herself closer. She reached out and took his hand. "I'm sorry," she said quietly. "Me too." Ethan squeezed her hand gently. "For a long time I thought if I just kept working, kept moving, maybe it wouldn't hurt so much. But it did. And I realized I'd spent so long running from things that mattered, I'd forgotten how to stay." "Is that why you came to get me?" "At first maybe. I thought if I could do something good, something meaningful, it would hurt less." He looked at her. "But that's not why I stayed." "Why did you stay?" "Because you made me want to be better, not for her, for you, and for me." He paused. "You taught me that staying isn't about being perfect. It's just about showing up." Zoe nodded slowly. "I want to make something for you. Is that okay?" "Of course." For the next 2 hours, Zoe worked in the art corner of her room. Ethan could hear her up there, the soft sounds of crayons on paper, the occasional frustrated sigh, when something didn't look right. When she finally came back downstairs, she was holding a piece of paper, face down in her lap. "This is for you," she said, handing it to him. Ethan turned it over. It was a portrait, drawn in crayon and colored pencil. Two figures, him and Emily. They were holding hands, smiling. The colors were bright, warm. Above them in Zoe's careful handwriting, it said, "No one is gone if they're remembered." And at the bottom, "I'll stay so you don't have to hide your hurt anymore." Ethan stared at the drawing. A sob broke from his chest. Unexpected, raw. He pulled Zoe into a hug, holding her tight as she wrapped her small arms around his neck. "Thank you," he whispered. "Thank you." When he finally pulled back, Zoe's eyes were serious. "You don't have to be perfect, you know. You can be sad. You can miss her. You can be scared. I'll stay anyway." And Ethan realized something profound. Zoe wasn't just learning to trust him. He was learning to trust her too, to let her see the broken parts, to let her in. "I love you," he said. It was the first time he'd said it out loud. Zoe's eyes widened, then softly, "I love you too." That night, Ethan took the journal and the drawing. He put them in a frame together. Emily's words and Zoe's art, a reminder that love isn't about perfection, it's about showing up, broken pieces and all. And for the first time since Emily died, Ethan felt like he could breathe. Brooklyn Heights, early March, moving day, came on a Saturday. Zoe had packed her things in 3 small boxes, not much for 6 years of life. Clothes, art supplies, her collection of turtle figurines, and the stuffed elephant she'd had since she was a baby. Ethan carried the boxes while a staff member from St. Mary's pushed Zoe's wheelchair. Dr. Patel came too, wanting to see Zoe settled. When they pulled up to the house, Zoe was quiet. "What do you think?" Ethan asked. "It's old," Zoe said. Ethan laughed. "Yeah, it is. I like old," Zoe decided. "Old means it's been here a while. It's not going anywhere." "Exactly." He unlocked the front door and held it open. The staff member wheeled Zoe inside. The house smelled like fresh paint and new beginnings. Sunlight streamed through the windows, making the warm yellow walls glow. "Your room is upstairs," Ethan said, "but I had a bedroom set up down here too, so you can choose." "Can I see both?" "Of course." They looked at the downstairs room first, comfortable, accessible, but Zoe wanted to see upstairs. They used the stair lift, Zoe clutching Ethan's hand the whole way, half nervous, half excited. When she saw her room, the purple walls, the window seat, the art corner, her face transformed. "This is mine," she whispered. "All yours." Zoe wheeled herself slowly around the room, touching everything. The soft walls, the curtains with little stars, the desk at the perfect height, the bookshelf already filled with books. She stopped at the window seat. Outside, she could see the backyard, small but sunny, with a garden bed ready for planting. "I thought maybe we could plant flowers," Ethan said. "If you want." "What kind?" "Whatever kind you want. It's your garden." Zoe looked at him, her eyes shining. "This is real, right? This isn't a dream. It's real. This is home." "Home," Zoe repeated, testing the word. Then firmer, "Home." Late March, the first few weeks were an adjustment. Zoe had nightmares, bad ones that left her crying and scared at 2 in the morning. Ethan learned to recognize the signs, to go to her room and sit with her until she fell back asleep. "I dreamed you left," she said one night, her voice small in the darkness. "I'm right here," Ethan said, holding her hand. "I'm not going anywhere." She tested boundaries constantly, refusing to eat dinner one night, throwing art supplies the next, insisting she wanted to go back to St. Mary's where things were familiar. "I hate it here," she shouted during one particularly bad tantrum. "Okay," Ethan said calmly, "you can hate it, that's allowed." Zoe stopped, confused. "I can. Sure. You can hate it, be angry, be scared, all of that is okay, but you're still staying here, because this is your home now. What if I don't want it to be? Then we'll work on making it better, but we'll do it together, because I'm not sending you back, Zoe, no matter what." It was the certainty that finally broke through. Not promises, just the steady, unshakable presence. Slowly things got easier. Brooklyn Heights, early March, moving day came on a Saturday. The kind of March morning where winter was finally loosening its grip, and you could smell spring trying to break through. Zoe had packed her things in 3 small boxes the night before. Not much for 6 years of life. Clothes, art supplies, her collection of turtle figurines, and the stuffed elephant she'd had since she was a baby. Ethan carried the boxes to the car. Zoe watched from her wheelchair, her hands gripping the armrests. She looked excited and terrified in equal measure. Dr. Patel came out to say goodbye. She knelt in front of Zoe's wheelchair. "You ready for this?" Dr. Patel asked. Zoe nodded, then more honestly, "I think so. Maybe, I don't know." Dr. Patel smiled. "That's a perfectly reasonable answer." She hugged Zoe tight. "You can call me anytime. And remember, it's okay to be happy now." Zoe's eyes filled with tears. "What if I mess it up? Then you'll figure it out together," Dr. Patel said gently. "That's what families do." The drive to Brooklyn was quiet. Zoe stared out the window, her hands tight on the armrests. "You okay?" Ethan asked. "Yeah." Her voice was small, nervous. "Me too," Ethan admitted. Zoe looked surprised. Really? I keep thinking about all the ways I might mess this up." "Like what?" "Like burning dinner, or not knowing what to do when you're sad, or saying the wrong thing." He paused. "Pretty much everything." Zoe was quiet. Then she said, "I think it's okay if you mess up sometimes. As long as you don't leave." "I'm not going to leave, even when I mess up. Especially when I mess up." When they pulled up to the house, Zoe pressed her face against the window. The brick looked warm in the morning light. "It's really ours?" she asked. "It's really ours." He helped her into her wheelchair, and held the door open. Zoe wheeled herself inside and stopped in the entryway. The house smelled like fresh paint and lavender. Sunlight streamed through the windows, making the yellow walls glow. "It's so quiet," Zoe said. "Is that okay?" "Just different. I think I need to get used to it." But when she saw her room, the purple walls, the window seat, the art corner with supplies organized by color, the bookshelf full of stories, she went very still. "This is mine," she whispered. "All yours." She wheeled herself around slowly, touching everything. When she reached the window seat, and looked out at the backyard with its garden bed and the turtle enclosure being built, she turned to him. "This is real, right? This isn't a dream." Ethan knelt beside her wheelchair. "It's real. This is home, Zoe. Your home. Our home. Home," she repeated. Then firmer, "Home." She threw her arms around his neck. He held her tight, feeling her shake with tears. "I'm scared," she whispered. "I know, me too. What if I can't do this?" "Then we'll figure it out together." That's what families do. Late March, the first weeks, the first night, Zoe woke up crying at midnight. Ethan found her sitting up in bed, clutching her elephant. "I had a dream. I dreamed I woke up back at St. Mary's South, and this was all pretend." He sat on the edge of her bed and turned on the lamp. "Look around. See this room? I painted these walls purple because that's your favorite color. See that photo? That's us. That's our family. This isn't pretend. This is real. Promise." "You told me not to make promises, remember? So instead I'll just stay right here until you fall asleep. And tomorrow morning I'll still be here, and we'll keep doing that until you believe it." "Okay," Zoe said in a small voice. Ethan read to her until she fell asleep. Then he sat there for another hour, just making sure she was okay. This became their routine for 2 weeks. Every night Zoe would wake up scared, and every night Ethan would come in and stay. The days had their own challenges. Zoe tested boundaries constantly. One night she refused to eat dinner. "I don't like chicken. You ate chicken last week." "Well, I don't like it anymore." Ethan set down his fork. "I'm not going to force you to eat chicken, but I'm also not giving you ice cream for dinner. So how about you pick something else and we'll make that instead? Mac and cheese, the kind from the box." "Yeah, deal." After dinner Zoe said quietly, "Sorry about the chicken thing." "It's okay. I wasn't really mad about the chicken." "I know. You were testing to see if I'd send you back for being difficult." He sat beside her. "But Zoe, you can refuse to eat chicken every single night for the rest of your life. You can throw tantrums, you can be angry and difficult, and I'm still not sending you back, because this is your home." Zoe's eyes filled with tears. Really, Another day Zoe knocked over paint in her art corner. Purple paint went everywhere. She sat there frozen, staring at the mess. When Ethan came running, she looked up with fear in her eyes. "I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, it was an accident. Please don't be mad." "Hey," Ethan said, kneeling down. "It's okay, it's just paint. But I made a mess. I ruined the floor." "The floor is fine. We can clean it up." He took her hands. "Zoe, it's just paint. It washes off. And even if it's stained permanently, you'd still be staying here. Because accidents happen. My last family got really mad when I spilled things. Well, I'm not them, and this is about you being allowed to make mistakes." Together they cleaned up, Ethan making a game of it, drawing purple footprints on newspapers until Zoe laughed. "You're not mad. Not even a little." Zoe looked at him for a long moment. "I think I'm starting to believe you." By the end of March things shifted. The nightmares came less frequently. One morning Zoe slept through the whole night for the first time. She came downstairs with a huge smile. "I didn't have any bad dreams." "That's great. I think it's because I'm starting to believe this is real. Like really real." She poured cereal from the box on the lower shelf they'd moved just for her. "I think I'm home now, like actually home." Ethan turned away, blinking back tears. "I think you are too." Early April. The first warm day of April arrived like a gift. "Today's the day," Ethan announced at breakfast, "for planting the garden." Zoe's face lit up. "Really? Today?" They spent the morning at the garden center. Zoe wheeled herself through the aisles, asking questions about every plant. They filled a cart with sunflowers, daisies, lavender. When they got to the petunias, Zoe stopped. "Can we get purple ones?" "Of course." "How many?" "6, for a special spot." She looked up at him, suddenly shy. "I thought maybe we could plant some flowers for Emily, since she liked gardens. Is that okay?" Ethan's throat went tight. He crouched beside her. "That's more than okay. That's perfect." Back home, they worked in comfortable silence. Ethan dug holes. Zoe placed flowers and patted soil around them. After a while Zoe said, "Tell me about her, about Emily." "She was kind. Really kind. She loved gardens. Always said gardens were proof that beautiful things could grow in ordinary dirt, that you just had to give them time and patience." "That's poetic." "She was like that. Always finding meaning in things." He paused. "She would have loved you. I think she'd be really happy about us." Zoe looked up, her eyes shining. "Really, really." They planted Emily's petunias in the sunniest corner, then continued with the rest. Sunflowers, daisies, lavender. When they finished, Zoe sat back, surveying their work. She was covered in dirt, grinning. "Can I tell you something? Always, I'm not scared anymore. Not like before. I'm still scared sometimes, but it's different. It's like, normal scared, not scared that you're going to leave." Ethan set down his trowel. "What changed?" "You stayed. Even when I was mean, even when I had nightmares, even when I was difficult and angry and sad, you stayed anyway. So now I believe you." "I'm glad." "Me too." Zoe grinned. "Plus you make really good pancakes now." Ethan laughed. "High praise." May the art show. The note came home. Annual spring art show. May 15th. "Will you come?" Zoe asked nervously. "Of course. But you might have work." "Zoe, I'll be there. Nothing is more important than seeing your art." For 3 weeks Zoe worked in secret, closing herself in her art corner. "Can I see it?" Ethan asked once. "Not yet. It has to be finished first." The night of the show, the elementary school gym was packed with families. Ethan felt out of place at first, surrounded by couples who looked like they'd been doing this for years. But then he saw Zoe scanning the crowd. When their eyes met, her whole face transformed. "There you are. Come see." She led him to the end of the row. Her display was impossible to miss. It was a large painting showing 3 figures, a girl in a wheelchair, a man kneeling beside her, and a turtle between them. They were in a garden surrounded by purple flowers. The sky was bright blue, full of sunshine. The title at the bottom read, "Staying." Ethan stopped. He couldn't move, couldn't breathe. "Do you like it?" Zoe asked anxiously. "Zoe," his voice was rough. "It's perfect. Really, it's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen." She beamed. "It's about us. About how staying is hard, but it's worth it. See, those are Emily's flowers, so she's there too." A teacher came over. "This is remarkable. Can you tell everyone about it?" Zoe sat up straighter. "It's about my dad. He taught me that the best people are the ones who show up, who stay, even when it's hard. After the crowd dispersed, Ethan knelt beside her. You called me your dad, in front of everyone. You are my dad, Zoe said like it was obvious. Yeah, Ethan said, voice thick with emotion. I am. June. The morning of the final hearing, Zoe was quiet. She kept asking if she looked okay, if her dress was neat enough. What if they say no? She asked suddenly. They won't, but even if something goes wrong, I'm not going anywhere. We're in this together. In the courtroom, Judge Reynolds reviewed the reports. Then she looked at Zoe. Miss Cole, how are things at home? Really good. We have a garden now, and a turtle named Shelley, and my dad makes really good pancakes. Judge Reynolds smiled. And are you happy? Zoe looked at Ethan. Yeah, I'm happy. I didn't think I could be, but I am. The judge turned to Ethan. How has this experience been for you? It's been the hardest thing I've ever done. And the best thing I've ever done. She's taught me what it means to show up, what it means to stay. Judge Reynolds picked up her gavel. Then it gives me great pleasure to finalize this adoption. Ethan Cole, you are now legally and permanently the father of Zoe Cole. She brought the gavel down. Congratulations. Zoe stared at the judge, her mouth open. Zoe, Ethan said gently. It's official. You're my daughter, forever. Really forever, forever, forever. Zoe launched herself at him, sobbing into his shoulder. We did it. We really did it. Outside, Dr. Patel asked, how do you feel? Like I have a dad, like I have a home, like I'm allowed to be happy now, like I don't have to be scared anymore. You were always allowed to be happy, Ethan said. I know, but now I believe it. Late June, the letter. One Saturday morning, Ethan found a piece of paper tucked under his coffee mug. Dear Dad, remember when you first came to St. Mary's and I told you to pick someone else? I'm really glad you didn't listen. I know I still have hard days, but now I know that's okay, because you're not going anywhere. You taught me that love isn't about being perfect. It's about showing up. Every day, even when it's hard. Thank you for showing up for me. Love, Zoe. P.S. Can we get Shelley a friend? Ethan read it 3 times, tears streaming down his face. He found Zoe in the living room, drawing. Did you read it? I did. And yes, we can get Shelley a friend. Zoe grinned. Did you mean what you said, about love being about showing up? Every word. Good, because that's what you do. You show up. For me. Every single day. That's what families do. Yeah, Zoe agreed, leaning against him. That's what families do. Autumn. 1 year later, October arrived again. It was Saturday, the kind of perfect autumn day where everything feels exactly right. Ethan and Zoe were in the garden, planting spring bulbs. Shelley and her friend Slowpoke munched vegetables in their enclosure nearby. The house behind them showed a year of life, handprints on windows, wheelchair marks in doorways, an overgrown garden. Imperfect and lived in, and absolutely perfect. Dad, Zoe said, patting dirt around a tulip bulb. Yeah, I'm really glad you stayed. Ethan looked at her. 7 now, taller, more confident. She looked happy. She looked home. Me too, kiddo. Me too. Do you think Emily would be proud of us? Yeah, I think she would be, because we stayed, and because we learned how to be a family. They planted daffodils in Emily's corner, worked in comfortable silence, the way people do when they're at ease with each other. When they finished, Zoe said, it's going to be beautiful. It already is, Ethan said. I can see us, working together, building something. That's beautiful. Zoe rolled her eyes. That's so cheesy, Dad. I'm allowed to be cheesy. I'm a parent. As the sun started to sink, painting everything in gold, Ethan realized something. He didn't save Zoe, she saved him. She taught him that love isn't complicated. It's simple. It's showing up. It's staying. It's being there day after day, even when it's hard. It's planting a garden on a Saturday afternoon, and watching turtles and laughing at bad jokes and being okay with imperfection. That's what love is. That's what family is. Not some perfect picture, just 2 people choosing each other, choosing to stay. Dad, Zoe said, can we stay out here a little longer? We can stay as long as you want. So they did, until the sun touched the horizon, until the air grew cool, until it was time to go inside, to their home, to their life, to their family. Not perfect, but theirs, and that made it perfect enough. That's what staying means. Not some grand gesture or dramatic sacrifice, just showing up, day after day, until one day you realize you're not showing up out of obligation. You're showing up because this is where you want to be, this is where you belong, this is home, and that's everything. Late June, the foundation. One evening, about a week after the adoption was finalized, Ethan sat at the kitchen table with his laptop open. He'd been working on something for days, waiting for the right moment to tell Zoe, "Hey kiddo." He called into the living room where Zoe was drawing. "Can you come here for a minute?" Zoe wheeled herself over, curious. "What's up?" Ethan turned the laptop so she could see the screen. "I want to show you something. Remember how I used to run a big company? Yeah, before you came to get me. Well, I still have some money from that. A lot of money, actually. And I've been thinking about what to do with it." He pulled up a document with architectural drawings. "I want to build something for St. Mary," said. Zoe leaned forward, studying the screen. "What is it?" "A new wing, with bigger rooms, better medical facilities, an art studio, a real playground that's accessible for kids in wheelchairs." He paused. "And I want to call it the Emily Carter Wing, after my sister. And you." Zoe's eyes went wide. "After me, after both of you. Emily would want this. She'd want other kids to have what we have. A chance, a real chance." He looked at Zoe. "Dr. Patel says, there are dozens of kids like you at St. Mary," said. "Kids who just need someone to show up, someone to stay. I can't adopt all of them, but I can make sure they have a better place to wait, a place where they know they matter." Zoe stared at the drawings, her eyes filling with tears. "You're really going to do this?" "I am. But I wanted to ask you first, is it okay if we use your name, my name?" Zoe's voice was small. "Carter, it's a good name. It should be remembered. You should be remembered." Zoe threw her arms around his neck. Yes, it's okay." Ethan held her tight. "We'll go tell Dr. Patel tomorrow. Together. Zoe agreed. And as they sat there in the warm kitchen light, Ethan realized that this was what Emily had wanted all along, not just for him to stop running, but to build something that mattered, something that would last long after they were gone. Not an empire built on deals and dollars, but a legacy built on staying. Autumn. 1 year later, October arrived again. It was Saturday, the kind of perfect autumn day where everything feels exactly right. Ethan and Zoe were in the garden, planting spring bulbs. Shelley and her friend Slowpoke munched vegetables in their enclosure nearby. The house behind them showed a year of life, handprints on windows, wheelchair marks in doorways, an overgrown garden. Imperfect and lived in, and absolutely perfect. "Dad," Zoe said, patting dirt around a tulip bulb. "Yeah, I'm really glad you stayed." Ethan looked at her, 7 now, taller, more confident. She looked happy. She looked home. "Me too, kiddo, me too." They worked in silence for a moment. Then Zoe said, "Dr. Patel called yesterday. She said they're breaking ground on the new wing next month." "I know. Want to go to the ceremony?" "Yeah." Zoe smiled. "I want to see it. The Emily Carter Wing. It sounds important." "It is important. Just like you're important." Zoe looked at him seriously. "Do you think other kids will get what we have? Do you think they'll find families who stay?" "I hope so," Ethan said. "I really hope so." As the sun started to sink, painting everything in gold, Ethan realized something. He didn't save Zoe. She saved him. She taught him that love isn't complicated. It's simple. It's showing up. It's staying. "Dad," Zoe said, "can we stay out here a little longer?" "We can stay as long as you want." So they did. Until the sun touched the horizon. Until it was time to go inside, to their home, to their life, to their family. Not perfect, but theirs. And that made it perfect enough. That's what staying means. Not some grand gesture or dramatic sacrifice. Just showing up, day after day, until one day you realize you're not showing up out of obligation. You're showing up because this is where you want to be. This is where you belong. This is home, and that's everything. Join us to share meaningful stories by hitting the like and subscribe buttons. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell to start your day with profound lessons and heartfelt empathy.